Your life does not shift simply because you want it to. Desire is easy, common, and available to everyone, but discipline is rare and powerful. Many people have strong wishes for a better future, yet their daily behavior contradicts those wishes. What you repeatedly do matters far more than what you occasionally dream about, because discipline turns intention into movement, while desire often remains a thought without execution. Circumstances may influence you, but they do not control you unless you allow them to. Two people can face the same environment and produce completely different outcomes based on how disciplined they are in their thinking and actions. Discipline determines whether circumstances become excuses or stepping stones, whether pressure breaks you or builds you, and whether obstacles slow you down or sharpen your focus. Discipline is the invisible force that quietly directs your decisions when no one is watching. It shows up in how you manage your time, how you respond to difficulty, and how you follow through when enthusiasm fades. Life follows the patterns you practice consistently, not the emotions you feel occasionally, which is why discipline has more influence over your future than motivation ever will. Every habit you maintain is a vote for the direction your life is heading. When discipline is absent, impulses make decisions for you, and those impulses usually favor comfort over progress. A disciplined life replaces reactive choices with intentional ones, ensuring that your daily actions align with the future you claim to want rather than the comfort you crave in the moment. Desires promise change without effort, but discipline demands commitment without guarantees. That commitment is what builds strength, skill, and confidence over time. Each disciplined action reinforces your identity as someone who follows through, and that identity slowly reshapes what you believe is possible for yourself. Circumstances can delay progress, but a lack of discipline can completely derail it. Waiting for ideal conditions often becomes a lifelong habit of postponement. Discipline moves you forward even when conditions are imperfect, teaching you to create progress instead of waiting for permission or convenience. The direction of your life is revealed in how you handle small, unglamorous decisions. Discipline in the ordinary moments accumulates into extraordinary results over time. What seems insignificant today compounds into powerful outcomes tomorrow, guiding your life steadily whether you are aware of it or not. When discipline governs your actions, your confidence grows because you trust yourself to do what needs to be done. That self-trust becomes a stabilizing force that keeps you moving forward despite uncertainty. Without discipline, confidence depends on external validation and fluctuating emotions, making progress inconsistent and fragile. Your daily discipline trains your mind to prioritize long-term outcomes over short-term relief. It rewires how you respond to discomfort, teaching you that temporary resistance is not a signal to stop, but a signal that growth is occurring. Over time, this mindset transforms challenges into opportunities for refinement and strength. Ultimately, the life you experience is the result of the standards you enforce through discipline. Every boundary you keep and every commitment you honor reinforces the path you are on. Whether that path leads to growth or stagnation is decided not by what you desire or what happens around you, but by what you consistently choose to do. The greatest battle is internal, and winning the mind determines external success. Expand it and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. The greatest battle you will ever fight does not take place in the outside world, but within your own mind. Long before circumstances challenge you, your thoughts begin shaping how you interpret those challenges. Fear, doubt, and hesitation are not created by events themselves, but by the meaning you assign to them internally, and that inner dialogue quietly determines whether you advance or retreat. Every external struggle is first processed internally. Two people can encounter the same setback, yet one sees it as confirmation of failure while the other sees it as feedback for growth. The difference is not talent or luck, but mental control. Winning the mind means choosing empowering interpretations over limiting ones. Even when emotions suggest otherwise, your mind is constantly negotiating between comfort and growth. Left undisciplined, it will default to safety, avoidance, and familiar patterns. This is why many people sabotage opportunities without realizing it, because the internal battle was already lost before action was ever taken. External success is simply the visible outcome of invisible mental victories. Before confidence shows up in behavior, it must first be established in belief. Before consistency appears in action, it must first be trained in thought. The mind gives permission for everything else to follow. What you repeatedly tell yourself becomes the framework through which you experience reality. If your internal language is filled with limitation, hesitation, and self-doubt, your actions will mirror that language. When you take control of your thoughts, you begin directing your behavior instead of reacting to circumstances. Winning the internal battle requires awareness, not force. You cannot change what you refuse to observe. Becoming conscious of your thought patterns allows you to interrupt destructive loops and replace them with intentional, constructive thinking that supports progress rather than resistance. The mind resists uncertainty even when growth demands it. This resistance often disguises itself as logic, caution, or practicality, but its true function is protection from discomfort. Mastery of the mind means recognizing this resistance without obeying it. When you win the mental battle, pressure no longer feels like a threat, but a signal of expansion. Challenges stop being personal attacks and start becoming training grounds. This shift in perception alters how you show up, how long you persist, and how much effort you are willing to invest. External achievements collapse without internal stability. Success without mental discipline leads to inconsistency, burnout, or self-sabotage. A trained mind sustains progress because it is rooted in clarity, self-command, and emotional regulation. The outcomes you see in your environment are reflections of the thoughts you allowed to dominate internally. When you master your mind, you stop giving circumstances the power to define you. You become the source of direction, resilience, and forward momentum in every area of life. Discipline outperforms motivation because it produces consistent, repeatable results. Expand it, and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. Motivation is often celebrated because it feels powerful, energizing, and inspiring in the moment, but its influence is temporary and unpredictable. It rises and falls based on emotions, environment, and circumstances, which makes it unreliable as a long-term driver of success. Discipline, on the other hand, does not depend on how you feel. It operates on commitment and structure, allowing progress to continue even when enthusiasm fades. Discipline outperforms motivation because it creates systems rather than sparks. Motivation might push you to start, but discipline ensures you return day after day, building momentum through repetition. Results are not created by occasional bursts of effort, but by consistent execution. And discipline is the mechanism that makes consistency possible. When motivation disappears, most people stop, but discipline keeps moving forward. This is where separation occurs between those who achieve lasting results and those who remain stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. Discipline removes the need to negotiate with your emotions, replacing hesitation with automatic action. Repeatable results come from repeatable behaviors. Discipline establishes routines that reduce decision fatigue and eliminate unnecessary resistance. Instead of relying on willpower each day, disciplined systems create a predictable pathway toward progress, making success less about mood and more about method. Motivation often responds to external stimuli, while discipline is internally governed. This internal control allows disciplined individuals to perform regardless of recognition, applause, or immediate rewards. Over time, this self-governance compounds into mastery, confidence, and reliability. Discipline trains the mind to honor commitments even when results are not immediately visible. Motivation thrives on quick feedback, but discipline is comfortable working in silence, trusting the process. This patience allows disciplined effort to accumulate beneath the surface until results eventually become undeniable. Consistent action sharpens skills, strengthens identity, and reinforces belief. Discipline ensures that practice continues long enough for improvement to take root. Without discipline, motivation leads to scattered effort, preventing the depth and repetition required for true growth. Discipline also creates emotional stability. When action is driven by structure rather than mood, progress becomes less vulnerable to stress, fatigue, or external pressure. This stability allows for sustained effort over long periods, which is where meaningful results are formed. Motivation can initiate change, but discipline maintains it. The ability to show up repeatedly builds trust in yourself and reinforces a sense of control over your life. That self-trust becomes a powerful foundation for confidence and resilience. Ultimately, discipline produces consistent, repeatable results because it transforms effort into habit. Once behavior becomes habitual, progress no longer requires constant inspiration. The process continues forward through structure, commitment, and practice follow through. Thoughts shape actions, actions shape habits, and habits ultimately shape destiny. Expand it, and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. Every outcome in life begins as a thought, often small and unnoticed. Thoughts are the first signals that influence how you interpret yourself, your abilities, and comfort delays growth, while discipline, discomfort accelerates transformation. Expand it, and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. Comfort feels safe because it asks nothing new from you. It allows familiar patterns to continue without resistance, creating the illusion of stability while quietly slowing progress. When comfort becomes a lifestyle, growth becomes optional, and potential remains unused because nothing challenges you to rise beyond what you already know. Discomfort, when chosen intentionally, signals that you are stretching beyond old limits. Disciplined discomfort is not reckless suffering, but purposeful effort directed toward improvement. It is the decision to engage in actions that require focus, patience, and courage, even when ease is available. Comfort delays growth because it rewards avoidance. It encourages you to postpone difficult conversations, delay necessary discipline, and stay within routines that feel predictable. Over time, this avoidance weakens confidence and reduces resilience, making change feel more threatening the longer it is delayed. Disciplined discomfort accelerates transformation by training the mind to tolerate resistance without retreating. Each time you act despite unease, you reinforce your ability to handle challenge. This builds internal strength that cannot be gained through comfort alone. Growth requires exposure to pressure. Just as muscles strengthen through resistance, character and capability develop through disciplined effort. Discomfort becomes the environment where skill is sharpened, clarity is gained, and limitations are confronted rather than ignored. Comfort keeps identity static, while discomfort forces reevaluation. When you remain comfortable, there is little reason to question habits or beliefs. Discomfort interrupts autopilot thinking, pushing you to adapt, learn, and redefine who you are becoming. Disciplined discomfort creates momentum because it shifts focus from ease to effectiveness. Instead of asking what feels good, you begin asking what works. This shift transforms daily decisions into strategic actions that support long-term growth rather than short-term relief. Transformation is rarely dramatic in the moment. It occurs quietly as disciplined discomfort is practiced repeatedly. What once felt difficult gradually becomes normal, and new standards are formed through consistent exposure to challenge. Comfort often provides immediate satisfaction, but delayed regret. Disciplined discomfort may bring temporary strain, but lasting reward. This exchange is the foundation of meaningful progress and personal evolution. When you choose disciplined discomfort consistently, you train yourself to associate challenge with advancement rather than fear. Growth becomes a natural response instead of a forced effort, and transformation unfolds as a result of repeated intentional strain. Thoughts shape actions. Actions shape habits, and habits ultimately shape destiny. Expand it, and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy in 10 paragraphs without heading and conclusion. Every action you take begins as a thought, often subtle and unnoticed. Thoughts form the internal narratives that define what you believe is possible, what you believe you deserve, and how you interpret situations around you. When these thoughts repeat, they quietly influence your decisions, guiding your behavior long before any visible action takes place. Thoughts determine the emotional tone behind your actions. A thought rooted in confidence produces decisive movement, while a thought rooted in doubt creates hesitation or avoidance. Over time, the quality of your thoughts becomes the filter through which every choice is made, shaping how you respond to opportunities, challenges, and responsibilities. Actions are the physical expression of your thinking. What you do consistently reflects what you believe internally, even when your words suggest otherwise. Repeated actions reinforce the original thoughts that created them, forming a feedback loop that either strengthens growth-oriented behavior or deepens limiting patterns. When actions are repeated, they evolve into habits. Habits remove the need for conscious decision-making, allowing behavior to operate automatically. This automation is powerful because it determines how you function daily without requiring constant effort or attention. Habits shape your identity by establishing what feels normal to you. Once a behavior becomes habitual, it no longer feels like a choice, but a part of who you are. This identity-driven behavior makes change either easier or harder, depending on the habits you have formed. Destiny is not shaped by isolated decisions, but by patterns sustained over time. The accumulation of habits determines the direction of your life, influencing your skills, relationships, health, and opportunities. What you practice daily eventually defines the outcomes you experience. Small habits carry disproportionate influence because of their cumulative effect. Minor actions, repeated consistently, compound into significant results over time. This compounding often goes unnoticed until the outcomes become undeniable. If thoughts remain unchecked, habits form without intention. This allows external influences, past experiences, and emotional reactions to dictate behavior. Conscious awareness of thought patterns is necessary to interrupt this cycle and replace it with deliberate growth. Changing destiny does not begin with dramatic action, but with disciplined thinking. When thoughts are intentionally aligned with purpose and clarity, actions follow naturally. Over time, these aligned actions establish habits that support progress rather than stagnation. The life you are moving toward is being constructed daily through your thoughts, actions, and habits. Each thought you entertain contributes to the direction you are heading, shaping your future through the patterns you consistently reinforce. Mastering self-leadership through mental discipline unlocks lasting success and authority. Expand it and don't add any ending sentence and make it lengthy. 10 paragraph without heading and conclusion. Self-leadership begins with the ability to govern your own mind before attempting to influence anything outside of yourself. Without mental discipline, intentions remain scattered and actions become inconsistent. Mastery starts when you take responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and reactions instead of allowing them to operate on autopilot. Mental discipline creates clarity, and clarity is the foundation of effective self-leadership. When your thoughts are organized and intentional, decisions become more decisive and aligned. This clarity eliminates inner conflict and reduces hesitation, allowing you to move forward with confidence rather than confusion. A disciplined mind does not wait for external validation or permission to act. It operates from internal standards rather than external pressure. This internal authority strengthens self-trust, making you less reactive to opinions, criticism, or temporary setbacks. Self-leadership requires consistency, and consistency is impossible without mental control. Discipline trains you to act according to principle rather than impulse. Over time, this consistency builds reliability, which is essential for long-term success in any area of life. Mental discipline also regulates emotional responses. Challenges, delays, and uncertainty no longer dictate behavior when the mind is trained to remain focused. This emotional stability allows you to maintain progress even under pressure, preventing burnout and discouragement. Authority is earned through demonstrated self-command. When you consistently follow through on commitments, you develop credibility with yourself and others. This credibility becomes influence as people naturally trust and respect those who are clearly in control of their actions. Lasting success is built on habits that outlive motivation. Mental discipline, NS. Yours that progress continues regardless of mood or circumstance. It replaces temporary excitement with sustained effort, creating results that are stable rather than fragile. Self-leadership strengthens identity by reinforcing who you are becoming through repeated, disciplined choices. Each act of self-control affirms your ability to lead yourself. gradually shaping a mindset rooted in responsibility and ownership. A disciplined mind prioritizes long-term outcomes over short-term comfort. This forward-thinking approach allows you to invest effort where it matters most, resisting distractions that dilute focus and delay growth. When self-leadership is mastered through mental discipline, success becomes sustainable and authority becomes natural. You no longer chase control over your life because you embody it through consistent thought, deliberate action, and unwavering internal governance.